First of all, let us pray for the helpers, the fire and rescue people who save property and lives. We pray for law enforcement. They put their lives on the line sometimes, and they always seem to encounter dangerous situations. Keep them safe. We pray for other helpers in the medical field as the COVID and the flu is increasing. I know that they will care for their patients with all their expertise and healing hands. We pray for our county, our workers. Some of them are now retirees, and they do a wonderful job. They do so well that sometimes they win awards, and that's because they are dedicated. They are, they have their expertise, and they do well for the county. We also pray for our commissioners who stayed together when we had a litigation that we faced this last year in 2023. And God bless every one of the commissioners. It made us stronger. Bonded us together. And in the new year, may we continue with that. We pray for our lawyer, Joe Sawyer. We pray for our manager, uh, Mike Stark and Steve. We pray for all the people in San Juan County. Some are alone right now, especially the elders. Their families are far away, but they have a support base. So bless those who are by themselves, who are lonely, who are out there, and protect all our soldiers who won't be here celebrating with their families. They're out in the overseas or somewhere else doing their duty. We want to have a good year, in a good year. So may there be blessings on each and every one and your families. Amen. Bojona hasli, bojona hasli, bojona hasli, bojona hasli.
Thank you. Uh, Commissioner McDaniel?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you.
Good word.
All right. Regular meeting. Approval of the agenda. Do we have any additions? Mr. Chairman, we do not. No changes for tonight.
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve the agenda.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Agenda will pass. Consent agenda. Everybody's favorite part. Consideration of approval of treasurer check register for November 2023. Consideration of approval of finance check registers for November 2023. Consideration of approval of regular meeting minutes for December 5th, 2023. Consideration of FY24 budget adjustment number 6, resolution 232437. Consideration of award of bid number 232411, Pierce agreement for parking lot asphalt services to Prestigious, is that right?
Prestigious paving.
Prestigious Paving of Gallup, New Mexico, and XL Concrete Company, Inc. of Farmington, New Mexico. Number 6, consideration of request for acceptance of non-county maintained roads to county maintained roads, Coyote Ridge subdivision, phase 1. And number 7, consideration of a contract with Otero County for non-guaranteed bed space to house juvenile detainees. And that is it.
Mr. Chair, motion to approve the 7 consent agenda items.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda will pass. All right, new business. Consideration of approval of resolution 232435. Peter Kelton. Good to see you again.
Great to see you as well, Commissioner. County Chair, Commissioners, my name is Peter Kelton. I'm with the Rhodey Law Firm representing San Juan County. Before you today is a resolution, a notice and an inducement resolution for the Shiprock Solar Project. The project is currently planned to be separated into two separate series. One series to support the electricity generation portion of the project, one for the battery storage portion. Now, the action today would simply allow for the county to publish and mail notices to taxing jurisdictions for the consideration of an ordinance approving the San Juan, the Shiprock Solar projects. The size of the bonds currently is set for $1 billion. Note that this $1 billion amount would not be any amount that would actually be owed by the county, but rather serves as a reflection of the maximum amount that the developer would be able to spend and receive certain proceeds and compensating tax. That the other purpose of this resolution is to trigger the start date for the Shiprock Solar team to secure gross receipts and compensating tax incentives for purchases of tangible personal property in connection with this project. Happy to address any questions that you have and appreciate your time.
Do we have any questions? Your presentation earlier was, I don't remember what month that was now. They all kind of run together. Was pretty thorough, so. Anything to
October
add?
3rd, Mr. Chair, was
October 3rd.
when they presented to the commission.
So I don't have any if nobody else has.
And I do real quick, this is just for the state's portion of the GRT, correct?
Correct. What's currently being discussed, and we're still needing to finalize the pilot of what's been expressed to the developer, is that the county would be made whole from a property tax and a gross receipts and compensating tax perspective.
And Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Beckstead, I might also add, if I could, Mr. Kelton, that also we would continue to make sure that the school district, and this is a little different now since the new state law, districts are held whole, made whole, as well as San Juan College, who is also a benefactor of property taxes. So this would mirror the same industrial revenue bond package that we approved for the current project under construction.
County Chair, Commissioners, thank you, Mike. I appreciate that clarification because I used county overly inclusively, but yes, all of the taxing jurisdictions that would otherwise be entitled to taxes, but for the IRB project would be entitled to the same amount that they would otherwise receive.
All right. I would seek a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd move to approve resolution number 232435.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion will carry.
Thank you,
Thank
County
you, sir.
Chair.
Thank you. Presentation, Four Corners Economic Development, Mr. Byrd and Mr. Hayes. Welcome, you two.
Very much for having us, Mr. Chair, Commissioner, staff, citizens. Thank you so much. So what we're going to do today, we are going to give you a pretty broad overview of FORSET, what we've been doing really for the last handful of years. And then as the presentation goes, we're going to narrow it down to really what we're going to be doing tomorrow. So we'll start pretty broad and then we'll end with a lot of specificity. So enjoy the pictures as well. So, situational awareness.
Mhm.
They should be familiar to you because I shamelessly stole this from Mr. Stark. But it really paints a really good picture and kind of tells a story of the tax base from the last, from 10 years ago till last year. So you can see the $2.2 million that was being assessed from the top 10 taxpayers in the county. And then 10 years forward, we have a radically different picture. And so what this is painting is, one, a loss of a lot of economic-based jobs, a loss of a lot of horsepower in the community as far as high-wage employers, and really radically changing the landscape of what we see for business and economic environment in San Juan County. So next slide. So mirroring that, we have a 7.4% decline in population over the last 10 years. And 5% decline in the workforce, which is actually a 9.8% increase from the 10-year high, which was in October 2014. And so while these are just really pretty bar graphs, what that does represent is families that have left the community, students that have left the school, wages that are not being paid, families that are not being supported, taxes that are not being paid, all the things that go with an increase in population and increase in the workforce. We have declined. Next slide. So that is just a real broad overview. We don't spend a lot of time on that, but it kind of paints a picture. What keeps us up at night is that question on the left. What do you focus on to not only recover what was lost, but exceed all prior metrics of economic prosperity, sustainable for multiple generations? And that really is the heart and soul of Four Corners economic development. So what we have done is we've spent a lot of time over the last few years trying to answer that question. Because if you've participated in any of our annual meetings or any of our board meetings or really engaged us in any way, there are thousands of ideas that support economic development that could be construed, that could benefit, and we could go literally thousands of different directions. And so what we did starting in 2020 and 2021, we engaged the University of Minnesota, which has a renowned economic development, business retention, and expansion program. And so 5 of us went through that program to really educate ourselves and be coached by some national level experts on what business retention and expansion looks like, where the best bang for our buck is for our existing businesses in the community. And we'll show that here in a little bit. But in 2022, 2023, we engaged an entity named Diane Lupke and Associates. So Diane Lupke and her associates. We invited to the community. They interviewed a number of you. They interviewed a number of community leaders and really got this really broad picture of what are our community's most unique assets that set us apart from other counties, from other cities, from other municipalities. What do we have that we can offer incoming businesses, existing businesses, so that we can start to narrow down these thousands of different options and opportunities for economic development and really invest in the ones that are going to give us the largest return. So we spent over $250,000 as an organization to answer that question and countless volunteer hours. So it was really building a foundation of what we were going to do and how we were going to invest your dollars ultimately. Dollars. Next slide. And then real briefly, this is what came out of that. From the University of Minnesota, build and expand workforce training responsive to local business needs. Beautify and market San Juan County, that was a fun one. Just about everybody that we interviewed, which was a total of 100 businesses all across San Juan County, said, you know, just need to clean up some trash, plant more trees, and when we are inviting potential employees into the community, they have to get here somehow. So if we can beautify those corridors a little bit, that would actually matter to us a whole bunch. Provide local business owners access to business education and develop and expand critical infrastructure. Touch on that here in a little bit. So that's what came out of the business retention and expansion program. On the right-hand side, the Diane Lupke, we narrowed it down to these handful of things. That is the biggest bang for our buck. Expand the energy economy, and that means a lot. That doesn't mean abandoning oil and natural gas. It means embracing that. It means embracing hydrogen. It means embracing solar. And on. Expand manufacturing in key sectors. Capitalize on the strong ag industry. We have over 3,000 independent farms and ranches. So a huge untapped economic environment. Continue outdoor recreation investments. This is largely being spearheaded by the city of Farmington, and it's a big opportunity at the state level. Increase remote worker attraction. As you know, the COVID pandemic, so many people are home. I've read a recent statistic, up to 54% of people have not returned back to work full time. And so if you can do your job anywhere, Why not do it in a place as beautiful as ours? And so marketing that, and increasing that removal for attraction and grow the healthcare industry. We have a really strong healthcare hub here in the community. Next slide. So as you start to talk about Forset, what is Forset's role in all of that? I will always start with our vision and our mission. And our vision, what do we want to see? And it's simple: economic prosperity for all. What do we want to do? What is the mechanism that we're going to see our vision come to pass? It is to help businesses thrive. Not only new businesses and attracting new industry into the area, but really supporting and encouraging our local business environment. Next slide. So we've invested a lot of energy. We invested a lot of energy into those priorities that came out of the university and the Diane Lefty, and we've organized them into these 4 pillars. So as we talk about and evaluate where our time and where our dollars are going, we respond back to this slide. Is it supporting business retention and expansion, new industry attraction, regional alignment? And we'll have a slide on this in a little bit, but we are in a pretty large sandbox of players in the area, between all the municipalities and the sovereign tribes that are around us, and organizational capacity and efficacy. So those are the 4 pillars of our organization today. Next slide. And this is another unique aspect of Four Corners economic development. We really do and are starting to see ourselves as the hub of this large wheel, this large conversation called economic development. The county, of course, is invested in economic development. All the municipalities, the city of Farmington has their own department. The city of Aztec, we really are and can be much larger, serving as a common brand. So when we're communicating to the state about dollars, when we're communicating to the region, when we're approaching the federal government for dollars and launching projects, what we're finding is there is value in harmonizing the voices of Aztec, San Juan County, Farmington, and even the Navajo Nation to create this unified voice for what we all want to see. We do have a dash line to the Navajo Nation. They do have a board seat, which is unfilled at the moment. But the more we press into economic development and the more we cast a common vision for our community together, the more we are recognizing that we have to include the Navajo Nation in a really strong way, and they have to include us. If we can figure out how we play well together and encourage one another and invest in each other's interests and develop common interests, that is really one of the key ways that our community is going to develop in the future. So we are investing a lot of energy into communicating with the Navajo Nation about their priorities. We have consulted with them and helped them build the new administration's strategic plan for economic development. And as you know, our previous CEO who resigned so that he could go join the administration. So we have a lot of strong assets in that formation right now, and a lot of reasons to be really hopeful for a prosperous relationship. Next slide. So now we're getting really specific. As a board, we huddled up in May and June, and as you know, we have Mr. Berg here, our interim CEO. I said Arvin had left. The organization has really limited resources. We really have Mr. Berg, and we have 2 other consultants that work part-time for the organization, and we have a volunteer board. So as we're considering all these opportunities and all these ideas, we really have to factor in what's real. And so we discussed in May and June and really cast a vision and challenged each other to say, let's imagine we're standing here on June 30th, which would be in our fiscal year 2024. And we're talking amongst ourselves at the next board meeting, and we say, you know what, that is a really, really good year for Forset. So capture that emotion, capture that thought, capture that vision. What are the things that we as a board need to see so that we can confidently say that? And this is what came out of that meeting. It was continue the VRE business, continue to invest in our local businesses. That was number 1. Continue corridor beautification. It would be really wonderful to see something actually blossom out of that, a project that is tangible and real. Success skills, that's working with San Juan College and developing a program so that local businesses can send people there to learn just life skills. That was a huge thing that came out of the business retention and expansion. If you guys could help our guys just show up to work on time, that'd be huge. So we're working with San Juan. The Edge Awards, we launched those, Economic Development Excellence. We just had that last week. It was a wonderful event. And quarterly breakfast. So inviting engaging speakers with engaging information on economic development, continuing that education on a quarterly basis. New industry attraction, investing in the energy economy. Hydrogen was a huge move this last year, as most of you know. Part of a $1.2 billion grant opportunity with the federal government. Our piece of that, of course, was a little smaller, but there were 3 San Juan County projects inside of that grant submission that ultimately was not successful. But we were a finalist in that, and that got a lot of wheels turning and got a lot of eyes turning for San Juan County for a hydrogen economy. Supporting outdoor rail, all of our partner organizations, entrepreneurship. 15% of economic development that happens in the community comes from entrepreneurship, so supporting those programs through San Juan College and other associations, and supporting broadband, which we'll talk quite a bit more. Regional alignment, we wanted to have a renewed interest in engaging our legislators. We wanted to add 10 new members from the community to the organization and advancing shared economic development organization opportunities. So engaging with Durango, Platte County, Navajo Nation, other entities that have EDOs, see if there's some synergy we can develop around some projects that they're working on. Organizational capacity, number one, onboard a new CEO. We really do have to define who that next leader is that's going to take the organization into the next 5 to 10 years. NMEDD certification. So there's a certification program that does come with some dollars to be recognized at the state level as a professional, well-organized organization for economic development. And we were successful with that. And then August, beginning September, which was great. Invest in grant writing. That's one of the revenue streams that has been untapped for the organization. Brett is business for into building resilient.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. In coal community. So
that was a non-dollar amount grant that was awarded to us at the beginning of the year, where there are federal resources that can come and help us design strategic plans similar to the Lucky program, but with a slightly different flavor to make sure we're investing the dollars well. This will culminate in a trip to Washington, DC, at the beginning of the year, early spring. We'll present those findings and the JTF funding, which we'll talk about a little bit. Balance the budget. We've been operating in a deficit for the last 5 years, so we need to get to a sustainable place, so we've achieved that. And ongoing board education with economic development. It's a broad term, means a lot of things to a lot of different people, so continue to educate our board on what best practice EEOs do. That's a lot. Next slide. So timeline. These are the main things that we have accomplished over the year, and you have the slide deck, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail for the interest of time. Just know we're doing a lot, particularly on the legislative session coming up. 2 things we're really excited about. APS has invited us to visit them in Phoenix, and so we're building an agenda around them on how they can help support. One of the things that was surprising to me is that they really do seem to have a heart and an understanding of how their access, their potential assets in 2032 is going to impact the community. And they do want to help. And so having a voice there to say, these are the things that we're doing, if you really want to help, these are some investments that you can make. We're excited about that. Raytheon has been an untapped industry partner in the community. And so we're trying to organize, while we're in Phoenix, they have an office in Tucson. We're going to bounce down there and if they're up for it and talk about potential expansion that it's doing. Next slide. What are we doing right now? These are the things that we're investing energy into over the last few weeks and going on into the new year. They're catalyzing business infrastructure. And this, of course, is leading the charge with Mr. Stark and his team and the county. Following your leadership, we're continuing to advocate for the construction of the local rail spur down to the I-40 corridor. Big deal. Continues to come up in our business retention and expansion efforts. We have a relatively small part of that. We participate in the meetings on occasion, but even as, I would say as late as last week, I found myself in a meeting with
The Korean Western Power Company, they came to visit because they are getting ready to invest a tremendous amount of money, time, and energy in the community to develop some hydrogen projects that they have. So delegation from Korea was here, San Juan College, and lo and behold, the conversation turned to freight rail. So we're in the room, showed them this slide, and talked about our ambitions and efforts with that. So next slide. Broadband. This was kind of a fun one because I continue to think, gosh, what would I do with a faster internet connection? Probably watch more videos. But I researched it, so I Googled economic development and broadband. And I was surprised to find that had we had the United States statistic, had we had just 10% more broader, that's another one, broadband in the United States, 10% more people had access to broadband in 2014. Then today, there would be 895,000 more jobs that were created just because of the additional access. So extrapolating down on what that could mean for the community could be a huge, huge deal. So it really is one of the core stimulants for economic development, giving access to broadband in rural communities such as ours. The exciting thing is a few weeks ago, we had $15,000 from the federal government to develop some sort of broadband expansion program. So that will be channeling itself through 4 corners economic development. And we're just starting to get some structure around what that looks like. Next slide. Expanding the energy economy, as I said, the Wetco Korean Western Power Company folks were here. We continue to engage and entertain ideas around hydrogen, helium, expanding infrastructure, carbon capture. That is a core piece of what we do and really is one of the best opportunities we have to re-attract economic-based jobs for the community. So this upcoming legislative session, we have a strategy that we're trying to get together to where we can ask the state for $100 million investment around stimulating and expanding energy economy. And there's a lot of hope that we have a better opportunity in this legislative session than we have in the past. So we'll see what we can do. Next slide. Mr. Turner, did you want to discuss the budget?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, because it's a great conversation piece now. It hasn't been for a long time. One of the great things that's happened this year since really about April, May is that we've almost doubled our revenue, starting with this body right here that increased your investment was at 50,000 up to 120,000. And that was huge, of course. We also had, as Jeremiah mentioned, Mexico EBD, where we became certified. That was another 40,000. NAPI helped us on some H2 consulting expenses. So we, for the first time in a long time, are really looking pretty good on the budget side. So we generate about $500,000 in revenue from lots of different sources. We have 90-something members in our organization, with 6 being public, the county, the municipalities, San Juan College. But some, quite a bit of private money comes in, rent income, and so on. So about $500,000, and then you can see our expenses on the other side. So we have some salary expense, we have consultant expense, VRE expense, helping other advocacy projects and so on. So we, the intent is to spend, because otherwise it's just the bank doesn't do anything. So the 150,000 we just got from the Just Transition Fund isn't shown on here because that's kind of an in and out expansion. So that's the budget we're having. That's fine, sir. Okay. All right. So this is where the rubber meets the road. This, as a board, we are trying to ask ourselves, what does it look like when we're successful? How do we find that? The shared view of success. And it really does come down to a handful of things. Did we create jobs? Did we really create jobs? Or did we just spend some money on some new projects? We do want to see those jobs come back to the community. We don't attract those here, mostly families thriving. Does it add to the tax base? Does it increase our population? Does it increase the quality of life? Does it align with our stakeholder priorities? We do a lot of good,
but if it really does upset and is counter to a lot of the surrounding entities, then it's probably not in the best interest of Forset. Does it make Forset more credible, sustainable, and effective for the life? That is how we're starting to measure ourselves and deal with. Slide. Further questions? Thank you so much for having us.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. And I know as this commission, we appreciate all that you do for our economic development. And there's not one person up here that doesn't stand behind you and understand the importance of the economic development. One thing that I really appreciate you guys coming in and giving us another view of it was when we travel around the state, we see all kinds of economic development groups. And it looks like they got all these grand ideas and they really have a hard time honing in on what they really want to get done. And from your presentation, we know that's not the case here. So I really like how you took in what projects are we going to own and what projects are we going to support. And I think that was a huge shift in Forset. I think that's when I could really see the change on the vision and the things getting accomplished. Because we all have grand ideas and we want to have them all come to fruition, but sometimes we get lost in the wants a little bit.
Have some food.
Yes, ma'am.
Sure. I just want to say thank you to Jeremiah because this is all volunteer work for him. He has a full-time job and he's done an amazing job as the chair of the board. And then, just keeping everything just like what Commissioner Lanier was saying, kind of focus, so we don't just go off on rabbit trails and really what's in our community. And then with Mr. Bird, he's taken on the job as interim CEO for 9 months now. So he kind of just came into this and he's done a great job of organizing that. So I appreciate that. I've been on that committee to interview the potential with the candidates for CEO, and that's been a huge process. And so you've really helped put that all together. We're going to start the interviews tomorrow for the next few days, and that's a huge process. So anyway, look forward to that and making final determinations. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. And I appreciate the way that you're looking at other funding opportunities, grants at the local, state, at the federal level of you going to DC and looking at that opportunity with NACO. So anyway, there's a lot involved in this process, but it's very important. So that's what I have to say.
Mr. Chair. I commend the University of Minnesota. They're way over there, and maybe they're not familiar with this area, but I'm glad that, they see that Navajo Nation is an important player. I wish it could be more. I know that there's a lot of federal grants that come and it says it can go to tribes. I don't know if Navajo Nation applies for those. But when we had this feasibility study presentation down at Newcomb, I happened to look up, we were in the cafeteria, and there's pictures of all the graduates from a certain year to the present. And I said, because we're talking about economic prosperity, and this is for the future generations. And I said, where are they? There's no homes for them. There's no jobs for them out here. Homes are abandoned. Just the elders are there. Once they die, nobody's there. Because the young people have gotten used to being urban in the urban areas. So I really like this thing of we're a region. And if we're going to survive, with climate change going on, with all kind of things that our communities are being hit with, we have to work together. And I'm so glad that Navajo Nation was included. There's a way, I think, to work on. If the key people are there, I know you lost your CEO, but now he's with the Navajo Nation. So he's a key player right now. But, you know, at certain times, certain things are just right. They just fall into place. So, and I like what our chair said, that is, you know, sometimes it's just a study, no action. But this one, if it's implemented, you know, we're going to see this prosperity. And I'm glad that Navajo Nation, you know, if they become a critical player and somehow they have to be convinced. I know out there we have our own Navajo environmentalists who oppose all this new thing with hydrogen and hydrogen development. But somehow there are certain individuals who have the power of persuasion, and then it can get them on board. So we have a new year coming up in 2024, and I know that I really want to see this prosperity. So thank you for that study, and I'm glad they did include Navajo Nation.
All right, anybody else?
Thank you
Gentlemen,
again.
thank you. Thank you a ton. All right, staffing change for San Juan Fire and Rescue. Chief Vega and Chief Lunch. Just Chief. Those Chiefs.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Commission. I'm going to co-present with Mr. Lund here, but I'll kind of tee this up and then I'll yield my time to Mr. Lund. But as the Commission may remember, in October of this year, I came before you to seek approval to restructure San Juan County Fire and Rescue, reclassify some employees, and also hire some new additional full-time employees. I'm pleased to report we're doing testing for those new positions next week, which we're super excited about. But the commission was gracious enough to allow me to restructure the organization. After that was approved, we went back and started redefining some of the roles and responsibilities of our staff members. During that redefinition of roles and responsibilities, we quickly realized that with Chief Herrera, who's with us tonight, who handles a lot of our in-house IT issues. With him leaving a Monday through Friday or 40-hour week schedule and going to a shift schedule, we were going to lose a great deal of our capacity to deal with IT issues in-house. It's important to know, you know, when you think of San Juan County Fire and Rescue, you of course think of the fire administration building here on the campus, but we have a very large footprint, up to 26 or 27 stations that all require a great deal of IT care. And those stations are spread out in a large geographic area, all the way from Ogback out to the west, Navajo Dam to the east, and DZ down to the south. So when there's an IT issue there, you almost have to pack a lunch and plan for kind of a full day going out there. So again, losing Tony, when we rolled him to a shift, we realized that we probably need to be a little proactive and initiate some conversations with IT. And so we did with Mr. Stark in the room, with Mr. Lund and his staff. We started talking some transition for them seeing a rather large increase in their workload from supporting San Juan County Fire and Rescue. So I may just yield over to Mr. Lund and then remain here to stand for any questions that you may have of me.
Yeah, just kind of reiterate, you know, the 27 buildings, currently the buildings are not on our network, so that would be one of the steps that we need to do is connect them to our network where we could actually service them a little bit better.
That would be all 27?
Yeah, yeah, because all of them have like door control cameras.
Right.
Have cameras, so we would want to connect somehow connect them all down the road. Like I said, it's not going to be an immediate thing, but it has to actually, you know, have the funds for it and then staffing for it. And then I request 3 computers per station. So that's, you know, 81 more computers that currently we're not handling. So it's done by fire.
Right.
So with that, we did put on the table, bringing on a additional journalist, for, the IT department. Certainly San Juan County Fire and Rescue supports that, knowing that we're not gonna be able to absorb, we're not gonna have the capacity, I should say, to take that on ourselves. I know Mr. One and his department are seeing some, staffing shortages right now, some challenges. We did work up some numbers, so if, that position started, assuming we have a February 1st hire date. We're looking at a roughly 29,000 cost in this fiscal year for that individual, and of course, cost after that. But again, there's so much technology now. And for the fire department, we're such a small staff that technology is important to us to create efficiencies within the organization. It is such a rapidly changing environment. And fortunately, with Tony going to a shift, we just don't have the knowledge, skills, and abilities to absorb that. We do have subject matter experts that is their area. So we support a generalist. Definitely support this to keep the fire department up and running. We require on that technology, of course, Murphy is often not kind to the fire department, so often nights and weekends, when it can go bad, that's when it goes bad for the fire department. So of course, that's not normal operating hours for these folks, but we operate 24/7, 365. So this position would be a huge benefit to making sure we're able to maintain our mission of public safety. And I stand for the question.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
do you foresee any disconnect or any issues in integrating with IT here in the county building versus having it in-house?
No, I don't see any foreseeable issues with that. Like I said, we're kind of working today with that. They were just independent currently. So their fire stations have, most of them have internet connections. We just want to build that into our network, and then they would come through us for all the internet sessions.
So any IT needs, they would just work directly with you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm thinking of your staff. Anytime there's a change or a transition, you as a leader have to work with them. So otherwise, they're gonna go against you. So is it going pretty smooth so that they're aware and they give you input? And I don't know how you're working with that. So kind of clue me in on that.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Totocini, that's actually a really good question. Part of the challenge that we see in our particular department is we're a combination department, meaning we have both full-time and volunteers. Of course, our volunteers make up the bulk of our first responders. I think what frustrates them a lot is, it's very easy for me to communicate with my staff that I see every day. The frustrations that I hear from the volunteers is it's hard for them to understand why their computers haven't been, updated in several months. Because it's hard for me to have that daily interaction with, volunteers that are spread out over 5,000 square miles like I do my staff, so they don't understand that, Mr. Lund and his staff are down 3 positions, the shortage of just getting hardware and parts is a challenge these days. So it's hard for me to communicate that directly to them. Of course, that builds up, frustration. So, and I don't know if that accurately answers your question, but Keith or Mr. Lund and his staff do a great job, keeping us humming here on the county campus. But as I mentioned, it's a challenge when you're having to go all the way out to DZ to fix a computer problem. That's not a 10-minute fix. That's not Mr. Lund sending one of his IT folks down the road here and fixing something. That's 30 miles one way to get down there. So it does create some challenges, certainly.
I guess as long as you're listening to them and, they probably have some good suggestions, and if you keep that up, I'm sure it'll get there.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Tedegini, we try to maintain a solid line of communication with folks out in the field. Of course, we exist to take care of them and their needs. They're taking care of the needs of the community. So as I tell my staff all the time, it's, my job is really not, my job is to make sure that my folks can come in every day and hit a home run. And by having IT support, that allows us to hit a home run. And we're hitting those home runs for the community. And certainly, as technology advances, IT is a big component of our success, or achieving that success.
Mr. Chair. And I see you brought your former head IT or head IT nerd here, and he seems to be okay with it. I assume he's gonna get to focus more on, you know, the organization versus chasing computers. And I assume he's on board in relinquishing some of those IT duties. And I gave him the head IT nerd. I'm sure you don't call him that, but I'm sure it was great to have that in-house for a while, but with the changes that have been made, I'm sure he's looking forward to getting back to actually doing what he thought he was going to be doing.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Beckstead, Chief Rare is certainly welcome to comment on that, but I feel very comfortable speaking for him. Firefighters are ops guys. Our expertise are out in the field, providing medical aid, putting out fires. Chief Ferrer, to his great credit, when our former IT individual, Jordan Richards, who you may have remembered, when Jordan left, Chief Herrera volunteered to take on a lot of those IT responsibilities for us. And I don't think Tony will mind me saying this. Tony's not an IT guy. He has done an outstanding job, for the record, basically learning on the job how to do a lot of this stuff. But again, I feel very comfortable saying that Tony is an ops guy. His expertise is out in the field, putting out fires and providing medical aid. And I think he's very comfortable handing the torch off to the experts that do this every day. And I hope that's an accuracy. Yes, sir.
All right. Well, if Mr. Lund is thinking this is a good idea and his staff can handle it,
That's what we're here for.
well, then I would seek a motion.
Mr. Chair, I would move that we approve staffing changes for San Juan County Fire and Rescue.
I would second that.
Any other discussion, comments? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion will carry. Get to speaking.
I'll miss you all.
You too.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. All right, number 4, consideration of approval of resolution 2324, grant application. Mr. Saavedra.
Good evening, Mr. Chair.
Oh, he's there already.
Before I get started, I'll just
Passports?
We're going on a trip.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
Mr. Chair, I come before you for consideration of resolution 23-24-36. This is a request to apply for a New Mexico Department of Economic Development, specifically an outdoor recreation division grant. The grant is in the amount of $15,000 to $30,000. It has to be executed within a 1-year timeframe. When San Juan County staff were first notified of this grant opportunity, staff had considered various projects, specifically because it's a marketing thing. Various ideas were tossed around. However, the consensus was a guidebook, specifically a travel guidebook. And the reason for that is the last 2 years, staff within San Juan County have attended the Outdoor Recreation Conference. There has been a gentleman presenting and promoting gravel adventure guidebooks, such as the ones that you have in your And we have since learned that gravel cycling is actually the number one segment in cycling in the United States as we speak. Subsequently, San Juan County has miles and miles of oil roads, which actually make it a very ideal location. Not a lot of infrastructure to be had, since San Juan County already has that oil road and BLM property. With that said, San Juan County has had some initial conversations with the owners of the gravel adventure guidebooks. We identified a price and identified an area if we decide to go forward, or the county commission decides to go forward with applying for this grant, to look at a gravel route that would encompass not only the county, but tie into 3 different municipalities in the county.
Like
So what
this.
we've envisioned is somewhat of a, think of a flower petal. You have the town curtain, and out and back, oilfield road, and gravel right by, a mountain bike, or e-bike, or whatever bike it was. I think it's hiking, bike, you can walk, doesn't matter. So you go out and back curtain. Think of that as being pedal. Another pedal, Farmington. Another pedal, Aztec, and Louisville. All coming back into that center. And that center is usually where that economic development opportunities occur. Because after a good hike or bike, you get hungry, you want to have something to drink, that's where restaurants come in handy, and that's where dollars come back to the community. So you tie in 2 things, recreation and economics. Now, what this book actually does is the marketing grant showcases the respective areas. So they highlight, for example, Las Cruces, San Luis Valley, other places that they have worked in terms of promoting the area. They promote it, they've identified what is available, what gravel roads people should take, and they've also even identified some businesses and so forth. We'll leave that for another topic for later on. So these are how outdoor recreation and economics come together with respect to this grant. The cost we've identified is about $55,000 for this gravel guide. And we would mitigate our costs in part by applying for this grant, applying for the max of $30,000. Now there is a 2-to-1 match with respect to this grant. However, that can be waived if your project is primarily outside of the Farmington MSA area. And so that's why when we look at this pedal, when we look at all the way Cox Canyon, or we look at Angel Peak down in Bloomfield, we're getting away from that MSA area. We're trying to mitigate our costs with this specific project. The other thing, talked about tourism in terms of identifying the area. Talked about economics, how people come back into restaurants and establishments. There's also a safety component to this. I've learned today from Chief Vega that a lot of folks are actually recreating in our area. They're coming from out of town and going to, say, Angel Peak. Fortunately, what is happening is they're getting lost on some of the local roads. And there's some search and rescue that has to accompany them, try to get them out. I think the story today was folks are coming on their Teslas and somebody's oil field road. It's not always the best method of travel, especially when we have inclement weather. So I can speak for myself, driving and actually getting on a bike on the road, you can get awesome bikes. We actually already have folks within the community that are utilizing these oil roads for gravel cycling. In fact, Aztec Adventures has put on already a few races for the last couple of years. So we think with respect to the outdoor recreation opportunities that San Juan County already possesses, the economic opportunities that will help our local businesses, and the safety component, this would be a good path forward to apply for this grant. Now I say this all in hypothetical. First thing we have to do is, of course, get the blessing from the county commission, apply, and then hopefully be selected for the grant. With that, we can look for this company and try to put together a book specifically for some. So with that, I will stand for the questions.
I think my first question is, this has nothing to do with the rail walk, right? This will be completely separate from that.
Nothing to do with that, absolutely. This is specifically looking at oil field roads Alcox, Canyon, things of that nature. Nothing to do.
And I really like the idea of the pedals like you're talking about, keeping, there's a lot of trails in Farmington. We have not as many in Aztec, Kirtland. So I like the idea of expanding that out. But who gets to pick where those trails are gonna be? Would that be a committee or does the city of Aztec kind of do theirs and Kirtland do theirs or?
Primarily, it's actually gonna be the health group, like this individual group travel guide is to make that loop. So we wouldn't really necessarily say, hey, City of Aztec, this is your route, because remember, we're actually gonna be looking at primarily the county.
Right.
Now, obviously, they would have buy-in, but you try to get that connection as a loop. And that's where, what this group does is they actually go out and they tour and they ride and they make those connections. And then they'll present that back to us and hopefully we have a good product where there's an out and an in and everybody can go back to their local density area.
So those other entities would have input also.
Absolutely.
Right. And then how would you go about getting these out to people?
That's a good question. So there's a few different methods to do it. One, with respect to chambers, each community. Businesses that are associated with the sport, restaurants, those are mentioned. So they actually have a website where they list all the areas that you could actually attend to. Now, failed to mention, there's a question that, hey, folks are pretty outdated. This is great for 1993, but we're in 2023. They actually also have a website with routes, and what they include in all this is a promotional video of the area as well. And that will be highlighted on their website, and something we could highlight on our website or say as well. But it's a good question. There'll be different avenues to actually pick up one of these physical books. The county would be one of the various bike shops, restaurants, and anything that's associated with outdoor recreation, I would imagine would be receptive trying to promote this.
Mr. Chair, south of Farmington is the Biscayne area. Would that be included? I mean, I know people go out there and I don't know if they do through the college, but would that be included?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Fisher, that's a great question. We obviously want to respect everybody's jurisdiction. It'd be a great question that we could have, make sure if there is permission, that area would be beautiful, because that is a gem in our backyard.
Yeah.
Doesn't always get a lot of attention. So that's a great question, and we could include that. If we need to have necessary permission, we'll explore that. We want to make sure we always respect all the jurisdiction. So far to date, BLM has not had any issue. Explain to them the plan process would be to see if they would have any negative sentiment on this, and thus far they're okay with it.
I think Navajo Tourism Department would be kind of receptive to that, so,
Right?
yeah. Okay.
Something. So Stephen, with this then, just seeing this one caught my eye, the prehistoric trackways. And so that's also something that I'm wondering if could be promoted in the schools as well, because of the STEM program and all that that's going on. But how long is the trail? Is that yet to be identified? I mean, do we know how long these trails are in Cruces?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, that is a great question. To this point, we don't know. We haven't hired them yet to build it. The trails range from 20 to 40 miles.
Oh, okay.
What I've seen in other books is there is anything from a beginner, intermediate to advanced.
Oh, okay.
Depending on your level of coverage.
Okay, so that'll be identified. Well, how will people know the names of the trails? Is that developed along the process as well? So, I mean, I see this here, so I'm guessing that you go out and you can follow a map of sorts, that like the All Trails app that you have on your phone if you go hiking. I don't know if this will segue into that or so. There's a lot of things to be asked, I guess. And will there be mileage markers as well?
Mr. Richard, that's a great question. There is a little bit of concern. That's something that we want to explore, especially with BLM. They're going to put signage of what type of permission do they need to obtain and how long is that stages of that. We've spoken to the city of Las Cruces. Their attitude seemed to be very laissez-faire when it came to this, but that's something that we definitely want to explore so that we're not in violation of BLM or any other jurisdiction.
And I guess just one more thing, I'm thinking the safety factors, kind of what you were talking about with Chief Vega. I wonder if there's along the way something that can identify for folks, because I just know out at Navajo, some people don't know how to call for help. And so along the way, how people can find, if they get in a spot, they know where to call or what to do. So, I don't know how that can be addressed, but that's just one of my thoughts.
That's a great question, and actually that was brought up by an individual at the outdoor recreation conference. Folks often get lost on various trails, hikes, and so forth. A lot of times they will, if you're in the metro area, they'll reach out, say, police is the one that address, and that can take hours.
Okay.
So they actually have a dedicated phone number specifically for folks getting lost. Obviously, we have great resources here with the sheriff's office, our fire department, but any and all those resources will be listed within the book, just for safety measures.
Okay.
And then of course promoted on the website. So.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
why didn't we do this 5 years ago? This looks like a great thing to me.
Yeah.
I think it's a great promotional
Mhm.
thing, and we might even be able to team up with, if there is going to be a shortfall or need other funding, team up with the city of Farmington, Aztec, some of those other entities, because it's going to just help the whole county and them as well. So.
Yes.
I guess I like on here too, it has rules of the roads, tips to be safe and responsibility. So those are important when you're biking like that.
I know that when I was up in Alaska a year ago in June, of course, biking's big up there. They had something similar. It was not this compact, but it also had buildings, different landmarks. And a guy from New Mexico could find his way back to the hotel by finding these little mountain peaks and stuff. So I understand the getting lost
I'm
part.
glad you didn't get lost.
Yeah. It's too cold to get lost there.
Yeah, I bet.
All right, any other questions?
No, Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve resolution 23-24-36 for the grant application to the New Mexico Outdoor Recreation Department.
A second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion will carry. All right, thank you, Steve. It's gone again.
It's quick and stuff.
All right, our favorite time of the night, report from our county manager.
Oh, well, thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Glad to hear it's your favorite time of the night. Last report for the calendar year. So, and I just want to, before I jump into a couple updates, just a reminder, as this is the last commission meeting for this year, our first meeting will be January 2nd in the new year. So make sure that's on your calendar for the 4th. I'm sorry, the 2nd at 4 p.m. Ms. Gomez couldn't join us tonight. She's got some illness on her staff she's dealing with, but she wanted me to remind you all tomorrow is the Memorial for the Unclaimed. That's an event that we participated in and assisted the Basin Good Neighbor Foundation and Basin Health companies who put that event on. It's going to be at Artifacts Gallery from 6 to 7 p.m. tomorrow night, and it's the opportunity to join with the community at large in honoring those in San Juan County who have died in isolation or without next of kin. And I try to attend every year if I'm available. It's a very moving and touching event. And if you're able to make it, she'd wanted to make sure you were aware of that tomorrow night. Another item, we're always striving to keep our employees safe here at San Juan County. And one of those things that we have to do, unfortunately, it's kind of a necessary evil, is to put on active shooter trainings. And we're doing such a training this next Thursday at 4 p.m. here at the administration building. So I wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. Mr. Logan, our safety manager, Mr. Mestis, our emergency manager, the undersheriff and his team at the sheriff's office are so gracious to assist us with this endeavor. So We'll make certain that we don't have any citizens within the building from the time of 4 to 5 PM. That we will have signage posted for those that are here, a couple of deputies posted out front to assist anybody who may show up and can help them after we're completed with the training. Mr. Neely's already put out information to the media as well as Facebook that will be closed for that brief period of time, but it's something we definitely need to do and to make sure that our folks are fully trained on how to react if something like that were to happen. So just wanted to make sure you were all aware of us putting that on and that the facility would be closed. We try to pick a time of the year where it's a pretty low volume in terms of citizen interaction right before the holidays. And so that's how we ended up with that date. Any questions on that before I move on to my last item?
Will the call center be involved in that?
Mr. Chairman, yes. Mr. Logan's gone to great efforts, and come on up, Stuart, to make sure that the 911 dispatch center, district court, internally here, all the employees at the county, of course, externally, we're trying to get that information out there. Everybody's fully aware of what we're doing and why. And so, Stuart, go ahead and
Yeah,
share some more.
so Ariano at the 911 comm center has somebody dedicated for the phone calls. We have instructed our employees that during the drill, and this is gonna be a basic drill, we're not getting, big as far as, people being made up like they're being shot or anything. This is just to test the employee response to an active shooter. And so the employees have been instructed that somebody in their department, as they're leaving the building, needs to call 911. And so Crystal does have a dedicated dispatcher to receive those calls. And so we'll also test that, employees doing what they're supposed to do, with alertness, calling 911, leaving the building, going where they're supposed to go, accountability and all that stuff. So yes, the 911 comm center is aware and they have dedicated somebody to that. So what we want to do is make sure that everybody's safe during the drill and nothing bad happens. So we will be securing the building from 4 o'clock on and then running the drill. And we do have some people that were involved. You might be interested in this, that were involved in the Ascot school shooting. Those people will be excused, at 4 o'clock that, feel like we just can't handle that, please, by all means, head down to fire ups and you don't have to be here to do it.
Right.
So,
Well, that's why it's so important.
yeah. I
That's
agree.
exactly why.
Not a matter of when, it's a matter, or if, it's a matter of when.
That's true. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Stuart.
Okay, and I had one other item tonight that I'd like to bring Mr. Daniel Hill up for.
Oh, goodness.
And his wife Heidi is joining us tonight as well. So glad to have her here to allow us time to recognize Mr. Hill, who will be retiring on December 28th. And so tonight is his last commission meeting. And it's an understatement to say that we'll miss his talents, his leadership. 15 years of serving the county. I think 8 years as deputy of Parks and Facilities director, and 7 years as the director. And I mentioned this morning in the staff meeting that, Daniel's a definition of a servant leader. He's always remembering who he serves, citizens first, fellow department heads, and then all of his employees that work for him. And he knows that people matter and he's here to help serve the people. And he's also a problem solver. He's somebody who always tries to find a way to say yes. Doesn't mean he always can, but that's definitely where his primary motivation is. And he's been involved in so many transformational changes over his time. When you look at the improvements we've made at McGee Park, we've got a world-class fairgrounds facility. And we just keep improving it and polishing it every year. And Mr. Hill's been a big part of that, hosting the state's largest county fair every year. Of course, working very closely with with the county fair board to do that, but it's a huge undertaking. Assisting with elections and all the work that goes into getting equipment in the right places and making that happen. Never back down from a challenge. We took on some new endeavors, Riverview Golf Course. Where do we put it? Mr. Hill raised his hand. I think Parks and Facilities can manage that. Northwest New Mexico Seniors was running our senior centers and decided to get out of that business. And now we're responsible for managing 2 senior centers. And who's going to take that on? Parks and Facilities took that on. Mr. Hill took it on. COVID hit. And think of, the testing and the vaccine, clinic that we did down there. I didn't even hesitate to figure how we could use McGee Park for those purposes. Was there from sun up to sundown, making that happen. In fact, Mike Mestis, I think, nominated Daniel for Assistant Emergency Manager of the Year with the State Department of Homeland Security because of all of his efforts. So, and then just the day-to-day activities of McGee Park, there's a ton of events down there. We're getting back to our pre-COVID numbers of close to 1,000 events a year and meetings that we host, and 120 county facilities that his department and that position is responsible for, and just, other events like Mission of Mercy, RV rallies, the New Mexico County Summer Conference. We need somebody to move.
He could have handled so much more than that. So I still have the option for him to stick around a little longer and take on a whole lot more if he wants.
That's right. That still exists. We still have a few days. But the list goes on and on and on, to your point, Commissioner Beckstead. And so just wanted to recognize Mr. Hill today and for this 15-year service plaque and on a well-earned and well-deserved retirement. On behalf of my office and of course the County Commission, thank you for your service to the citizens of San Juan County. So,
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Stark. First off, I want to thank my wife Heidi for coming tonight. As you all know, behind every good man's a good woman, and Heidi certainly supports me, especially during the county fair when I get to work the additional hours. And most of you don't know, it seems like Heidi's birthday was almost always during the county fair, so we celebrated big style. Come on down for lemonade. And as you read off all the accomplishments, I thank you for all those. But as we all know, it's not just me. It's the commissioners, it's the CEOs, it's all the department heads, and it's all of my staff. And as I leave this position, I know that I'm leaving my department in good hands with Steve and Michelle, who are always here to support me. And I know they're going to carry on from where I'm leaving up. So I thank you for that. And certainly thank you for the opportunity to be the Director of Parks and Facilities. It's been certainly my honor to fulfill that role. So thank you.
Well, job well done.
Bring your wife up here for the photo.
exactly what you didn't want.
We had this discussion.
So I should mention that right before this, we came from Heidi's retirement party from Marion Oil and Gas. Retired after 23 years. Yeah. We're retiring with.
Okay, ready? Right here. Smile, please. 3. I'm going to take a couple more on. 2. Ready? 1, 2, 3. What would I do this man? Hold on. Thanks. Cheers.
Children last. And years in banking for them.
All right. You didn't even cry. Thought I might see a tear or two.
You didn't run out the door either.
No. He's gonna ask for a raise after all that. Nice. All right, we're still on. We're still on county manager.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report. Thank you so much, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you all.
You too. All right, report from elected officials and department heads. Department heads want to go first? Nice.
Roberta.
Yep, you're on.
Again, my name is Roberta, Chief HR Officer, and I have with me Ms. Ashley Fulton. But what we want to present to you is we have recently applied for the Family Friendly Business Award, and we have this award for the past 5 years. But this year is kind of special, and I brought Ashley up here to explain the reason why it's special. But a little bit about the program, the award itself first. The program, Family Friendly Award, is a program, is a nonprofit initiative formed by Task Force on Work-Life Balance. It's to recognize and promote New Mexico businesses that provide, adopt, and implement family-friendly policies for their employees. The program also works to increase the number of businesses with family-centered policies available to their workforce. Also to serve as a resource for businesses to increase and improve the policies they offer to their employees. Vision for the program is that all New Mexican workers are able to achieve a healthy balance between work and life, which means they have the time and capacity to care for their children and families, have access to good jobs, and are able to contribute to their communities. Award selection is based on the following family-friendly policies categories. They include paid leave, health support, work schedule, economic support, and compliance with New Mexico laws, such as nursing mothers' rights at work, job protected leave, domestic violence in the workplace statutes, New Mexico Fair Pay for Women Act, New Mexico Human Rights Act, and New Mexico Health and Workplace. The San Juan County, again, as I mentioned, San Juan County has received the award for the past 5 years at a gold level. This year, I'm proud to say we have achieved the highest award at a platinum level. Here to explain the new level and new designation again is Ashley Pulte. She's our senior HR generalist. Ashley brings to the county, she's been with the county since August of 2023, full 4 months. During that time, she learned invaluable HR experience with recruiting, career development, employee relations, disciplinary process, etc. A very experienced and well-rounded individual. But I'm going to have her explain to you what the difference for platinum level is and his special designation that he received with this.
Welcome, Ashley.
Hi, good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. So with the family-friendly platinum designation, so we have to meet two policies within the categories that Roberta just talked about. But with the platinum designation, we have to have one policy in 3 additional policy categories. And those include flexible work scheduling, job sharing. They include pay equity, diversity and inclusion, and community investment. So we met one in each of those. And then we also got the education designation, which just highlights our dedication to enhancing employee education and development.
So we just wanted to share with you again the award we received.
Oh, wow.
We're very proud.
Well, great job.
Mr. Chairman, I might just add that that designation is really important to us. You've seen it previously on our website, specifically under our job posting link. We proudly promote that we were a gold recipient. That does carry a lot of weight as we're in this very competitive battle to recruit and retain employees. And so now achieving the platinum level, we'll absolutely be publishing that accordingly now that we've attained that level and making sure it's broadly known what we've achieved. So thank you both to Ms. Padilla and Ms. Pulte for their work with that endeavor.
Well, thank you, ladies. Any other department heads? All right, any elected officials? Ms. Tanya?
Chairman and members of the commission, as you're aware, we had 3 close races during our regular local election that we conducted. So we were required by statute to conduct recounts for those 3 specific races. I'd like to just report that there were no discrepancies, none of the results changed. And then along with that, San Juan County was drawn to audit 7 precincts throughout the county. And we conducted that audit on the 7th of December, and all of the results matched. There was a clean audit. So just for the record.
Awesome.
And for the record, I asked Tanya to give that to us because I think your department does a great job and your staff is just awesome. So,
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
any other elected officials? All right, I'm not hearing any.
With that, Mr. Chair, I'd move
Wait,
that-
not yet.
No, well, you've got one. Why are you not including?
No, I don't have one. We gotta do general
Oh.
public first.
Okay.
All right, comments are accepted or input from the general public. Comments are accepted in person, limited to 3 minutes, and to subjects the commission has not previously discussed or formal action has not been taken. No formal action will be taken at this meeting that relates to the comments or input from the general public. We have anybody? All right. Now, it's fitting that the last meeting of the year, we yet have one more closed session.
With that, Mr. Chair, I move we go into closed session to discuss pending litigation involving the Jemez Mountain Electric Co-op versus New Mexico pursuant to section 1015(1)(h)(7).
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We will go into closed session. Thanks, everybody in attendance today. Appreciate you.